Today, we are giving this 1980s electric piano a complete makeover. This is a real piano with actual strings and hammers, and it belongs to my buddy Clay, who has taken this on tour around the country many times. The really cool thing about this piano is how it folds up into itself to hit the road, although its road hitting days are over and no longer needs to fold up. So today, we're gonna get rid of all the plastic and replace it with wood. One of the stipulations I had taken on this project is I get to do whatever I want with no input. I'm not gonna send him any progress pics, so we get to surprise him at the end to gauge his reaction. None of my sources have any walnut plywood in stock, so I had to make my own using veneer, a vacuum, and a bag that I got from today's sponsor, Rockler. After cutting down the size, I'm making my own edge banding out of solid walnut. Throughout this entire build, you'll see me using the brand new Rockler one-handed spring-loaded bar clamps. These things are really cool. Unlike any bar clamp you've ever seen, it's got two triggers. One is to close it, and the other is to clamp it. That way, you don't have to repeatedly squeeze the trigger to get the piece closed. Step one, step two, and then you instantly got 150 pounds of clamping pressure. You don't have to have it closed instantly like that if you're worried about marking up your piece. You can feather it a little bit so you get a nice soft close, but still works very, very quick. They come in two sizes. You got the 6-inch and the 10-inch. All the clamps that I'll be using in this project are designed and made by Rockler, including the aluminum bar clamps and the bandy clamps. Not to mention that the veneer, the vacuum pump, the vacuum bags, and many of the other tools used in today's project come directly from Rockler. I'll have links to everything that I'm using down below. Thank you, Rockler, for sponsoring this video. Now let's continue on with this build. Next, I wanted to make the side panels, which just don't screw off like I had hoped. So I had to take off a few more panels to get to them, and I had to drill out the bottom screws since they were worn flat from years of touring. The two side panels are mirror images of each other, so I'm making them at the same time. I wanted to keep the curved top of the original panels, so I'm adding more wood so I can cut away the shape. And once again, I'm making my own edge banding and using the convenient bandy clamps. To make the round curve, I cut most of it away at the router table, and then I sand until I get the perfect shape. And again, I'm using Rockler walnut veneer to cover the plywood. On the inside, this gets a little interesting. This has these blocks and they're all various sizes. So I cut those blocks the exact same size and glued them into place. And that goes onto this heavy metal frame. And that's how this whole thing is put together. So I'm just kind of doing one piece at a time. I've got this side screwed on and the other side is just a mirror of that, except there's some electronics. So I've got to remove the electronics and then cut a hole for that. So we're gonna do that next. Funny enough, the wood that I'm using for the inside came from an old grand piano that I salvaged years ago. Everything is connected to this cast iron frame, and as I found out, the more pieces you take off, the less stable it gets. So I need to replace the panels as I take them off. On the front of these side panels, I glued up some big chunks of walnut that will be visible and will also give a place to screw in the front panel. I hate flathead screws as much as anybody else, but I found these beautiful brass screws with a matching countersunk washer, which I think is perfect for this project since all of the panels would need to be removable so you could tune the piano. Above the keys, I cut a clear acrylic piece that'll screw in with brass knurled knobs and threaded insert. The bottom part here is going to be a sheet of plywood, and then the top part is going to be solid walnut. The reason for that is this part of the piano sticks out past this guy right here, and the plastic piece that was here before had room for this. And so I'm going to make a little bump out that goes all the way across here, and I'm going to put the letters Yamaha on there, and this bump out is going to be solid wood. So I've cut the piece, and now I gotta pocket out this area all along here so it fits over top of this part that's sticking out right here. And I'm gonna use a really cool tool to do that, which is a handheld CNC called the Origin Shaper. I cut a pocket, but I didn't think this all the way through, and a couple of times there wasn't enough support for the base. I should have made a bigger base for this, and it would tilt down and it would gouge out. It doesn't matter because nobody's gonna ever see this unless they take it apart to examine my work. So I think we're done with that. The one thing Clay did ask for was that the piano said Yamaha, so I milled up some walnut and cut it into thin strips. This is the perfect opportunity to show off my new laser, the Rayjet R400. This isn't another hobby laser. This beast is made to run all day for big production runs. It's big, it's powerful, and it easily cuts these 1/4 inch thick walnut letters. I glued them onto this accent board, which then gets glued onto the back piece with the inside cutouts. The plywood panel that goes underneath it I thought was just too big of a blank canvas to leave alone, so I had my D600 cut out the accent pieces. This is a brand new CNC, hot off the presses from Stepcraft. I glued them into place as well as a trim piece to cover up the very bottom piece of the piano. I didn't like how the top piece was mating with the side pieces, so I cut some trim to cover up the gap. And again, for the front panel, I needed to make a piece to hide the bottom, but I had to work around the sustain pedal. And one final trim piece to transition from the keyboard to the acrylic. I primed and painted the original feet and used some vinyl paint around the keyboard for a nice fresh up. And now it's time to reveal it to its owner.
You.
Does God have a face? Does he have a body or even a name? And if he does he know that I'm alive? Is God even here? Does she care that I doubt? Does she care that I feel? Something tells me God will survive. So take a breath, breathe it in, the mystery that is this universe we don't know, but I think the truth is, if God has a face, her face must look like yours.